How we doing today, neighbors? Ian with eTrailer here, and we're going to be taking a look at and then installing the CURT Class I 2-inch by 2-inch hitch on our 2024 Toyota Corolla Cross. Let's go ahead and get into a few features of that, and then we'll take care of the install. Now, the Toyota Corolla Cross here is a wonderful vehicle. It does have the option for a roof rack, and it's got a pretty good little boot space here in the rear. But you're going to be able to open up a bunch more options when it comes to accessories for your Corolla if you throw a hitch on it. And I would think that this CURT is a beautiful option for that. Looks great on the back of the vehicle here and is going to give you more options when it comes to those bike racks and cargo carriers. It does feature the 2-inch by 2-inch receiver hole here, which is going to be great to again open up to those bike racks and accessories. I would suggest something along the lines of the Benton Shifts&Grins. It's a beautiful 2-bike rack platform style that would look great on the back of the Corolla here. This hitch is also going to feature a 5/8 inch pinhole, not included with the kit, so please do look at those locking options on our website to help keep your accessories safe. And then it does feature these nice big safety chain loops that if you did want to pull a smaller trailer will still keep you legal and compliant and are easily accessible with any type of safety chain retainer you may have. It is worth mentioning, since this is a Class I hitch, it is only looking at 2,000 pounds for that towable weight rating, and then up to 200 on the tongue weight rating, so that downward pressure, just something to keep in mind, as most cargo carriers do have a higher weight rating than that, and that will include the cargo carrier and the items you happen to put on that cargo carrier. So it is a smaller hitch, again still that Class I, but still going to open up great for those bike racks and smaller cargo carriers. Now, we are sitting just about flush when it comes to the hitch and the back bumper here, but if we're measuring from the center of the hitch pinhole out to the edge of that bumper, we're looking at 3 inches. So that'll give you an idea. If you already have your accessory or bike rack that you're going to be throwing on the back of this, just measure from the hitch pinhole on your accessory out away from where it's going to be going into the shank here, and that'll give you an idea if it's going to clear in a folded position if that accessory does happen to fold. And then from the ground to the inside of our receiver tube, we are looking at 14.5 inches, so that'll give you an idea of that good ground clearance if you happen to be hitting any angles. So right before we get into the install on this one, did want to mention the fascia is going to be coming off, and we're going to be taking the tail lights out, so it's not the most difficult installation by any means, just very time consuming as far as getting all of the clips out of the way. There's going to be a few that are hidden on the vehicle from plain sight, but I'm going to try to show those in video as best as possible to make it easier for you to get this done. But if you happen to watch the video and think to yourself, this isn't something I want to try to tackle, please do use that dealer locator on our website. We'd be happy to help you find a trained professional in your area that can get you hooked up with your hitch. But for all those DIYers, let's go ahead and hop into the install, and I'll walk you through the entire process. First thing we're going to do is tape around the edges of our fascia and tail light, since those are both going to be coming out. So I kind of wanted to show where I've got all mine lined up, just top side and bottom side of the tail light. Here at our edge for the top of the fascia, so that line right there. This plastic is going to be pulled away with this removed, so I've got it all the way down and around our edges of that part of the fascia. To remove the tail light, we're going to be looking at these two 10mm bolts here, and we'll get those pulled out. With those two removed, we're going to be pulling the tail light away from the rear of the vehicle. All the pins go in towards the front, so just give that a little wiggle first to break up any debris that might be in there. And then if we pry from the bottom here as we're pulling out, and once that pops forward, we'll very carefully hold that towards the vehicle, and we're going to be wiggling this clip loose here. It's just wrapped around that piece of plastic. And then on our tail light, we're going to have that clip here. You'll just push in on the tab and pull away. And we'll set that tail light aside. And here below the tail light, where we took out those first two 10 millimeters, we have two more we're going to take loose. And we've got one Phillips head here towards the bottom that we'll need to remove. We're then going to turn our attention to the wheel well and our mud flap here. There's going to be a total of 4 10 millimeter bolts, 2 at the top, and then 2 on the bottom here that we'll need to remove. Now we're going to be removing this plastic panel that's in the fender liner here, and to do so we've just got some plastic push pins that'll need pulled down on that. It looks like 3 going up, 1 on the inside here, and then there is 1 underneath where we remove that mud flap. And on the inside here, we're just going to have a little fastener that will unscrew off of the stud. Now we'll reach our hand up underneath and start to work that away from our plastics here. We're going to be accessing a small push pin that's on the inside. It can be accessed from underneath as well. I just wanted to be able to show the head of that here on camera. Pull that one out, and then our plastic should come loose here. We'll just want to make sure we're off the stud in the back. Now to get this fender liner loose, I would suggest pushing on these small clips that are in the back of it, opposed to just pulling right away, because it will break those clips rather easily. So we'll just start working our way up. There's a little push tab on those. Come all the way up to the top edge where that fascia break is at. And so at the top where our fascia meets the rest of the body, we do have a plastic push pin that we'll need to remove. And it may be easier to get at that with a small flat head opposed to trying to get a poppet pry tool in there. And here at the rear of the vehicle, just behind our muffler edges, we've got 2 plastic push pins that will need to be removed. Now we're going to reach in between the fender liner cover here and the bottom of the fascia at both the top and bottom, using our thumbs as the lever, and start prying that away. It should just pop out of the clips. And we're going to work our way down to these 2, which you can just push up on those and they'll start to detach. And same with the one here at the tail light. Then you'll work your way to the center, and that'll break loose. And here at the center, we've got a pin connector that we can pull apart by pressing on this small black tab, and that will come loose. And then we can use the box from the hitch to just set that aside so we can get it trimmed. On each end of our bumper beam, we're going to find there are 4 12 millimeter bolts that we're going to remove with an extension and socket. And while we're taking these out, I am going to leave the top one in just a few threads, so that way it'll catch the one side once we go to take the other side loose. And we'll take that last bolt out of the bumper beam here, making sure we support that so it doesn't fall on us. And With that last one removed, we'll lift up and away from the vehicle and just set that aside. Now we can take the hitch and lift that into place, lining up the holes where we pulled the bumper beam off. And we'll get our hardware started on each side to hold that in place. And one thing we'll want to note while putting this up, the hardware in the kit's going to be the included bolt, and then we're going to use the conical tooth washer with the teeth facing towards the hitch. Now we're going to come back with a 13mm socket and just get all those snugged up against the body. Now we need to come back with that 13mm socket and extension. We're going to be using a torque wrench to torque that to the specifications shown in the instruction manual. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can pick one up with your order along with your hitch from us directly, or head down to that local parts store and they should be able to rent one out for you. With the hitch installed, we're now ready to trim the fascia. You'll just want to follow the instruction manual as far as how to measure that out, because it is going to seam off-centered between these two grommet points. So just make sure you read that out real well, and we'll trim that out either with a multi-tool, or in our case, we're just going to be using some tin snips. And once we've got that cut, you may have rough edges that stick out a little bit, and just to clean those up, you can always take a straight razor and just cut all those extra little odds and ends off so it slides over the hitch easier. Now we're ready to slide the fascia back into place, making sure we get our center plug plugged back in. That should snap once it's in place. And as we're going up on each side, you may want to wedge just some tissue or something up inside of that fender liner there, so that way we have a bit of a gap at the fascia, and get our tabs lined up. Just kind of double checking everything's lining up as far as our sides here. That will just all snap back into place, and we'll work towards the center and then reinstall all of the hardware in the taillights in the reverse order that we took those off. And that's going to do for our look at an installation of the CURT Class I 2" by 2" hitch on our 2024 Toyota Corolla Cross. My name's Ian with eTrailer, and I appreciate you watching.